Alright guys, as you can see we have both projects, current projects in progress in front of me. We have the RX Mojave Super 73 and we have the E-Grom project, and it's been a little bit some time since I've last done a video upload. I've done a lot of shorts lately. I've just had a ton going on in my personal life. I've been racing. What I do for a living is tune cars, so I've been tuning some race cars. I've had a ton of stuff going on with that. Been traveling. Now that I'm back home, I'm trying to get these bikes done. So with that being said, I got some updates. I guess we can first start on the E-Grom. Some of you are here for this bike and some of you are here for that bike. If you're not here for this one, you could skip, but it's a cool project nonetheless. If you're not sure about this bike at all, this has a 20S 24P Molicel P24A pack, has a Far Driver 72 1800 on it, and a qs260v5 hub motor on it currently. We've had a couple different setups on this bike. That's just where we're at right now. The current 0 to 60 time is 3.38 seconds and 3.18 with a 1 foot rollout. So pretty quick, very fast for what it is. Did like a 7/68 mile, which is, you know, pretty fast for a Grom. So I'm definitely not disappointed with the bike. However, I wanted a little bit more out of it. So to fix that problem, as you guys can see here in the video, this is a stock wheelbase, meaning the bike is the exact same wheelbase, the length, as a factory bike. So as you can imagine, trying to launch the bike, it just wants to wheelie. It makes it very difficult to drive it without either spinning or lifting. So previously I had a extended swing arm, and this particular swing arm uses all billet aluminum and CNC aluminum parts, and it actually had cracked after installation on one of the launches. I heard this tinging noise when I went to launch, and I was like, okay, that sounds funny. I heard it. I took it easy, got home, looked it over. Sure enough, I seen the aluminum had cracked. So I took that off, went back to the stock arm, and it's been like that ever since. I don't know. I only had that swing arm with this motor. I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know if I did have it on this motor. I think it might have broken the stock one, or maybe one launch or something with this one. It was very short-lived. But regardless, that was the problem. So it had been broken. They had been offering to send me a new one. They wanted me to pay the shipping again. I felt that I shouldn't have to since it broke so quickly. And I was just kind of enjoying the bike with the stock arm, so I didn't really think much of it. One of my buddies that I've met through YouTube and through the forums, Robert, he's building one of these bikes as well. He ordered the same bike, he ordered the same hub motor. He went with a ASI Bach from GLE with their Bluetooth app. And he's doing a sick build, similar battery build. Well, he had ordered a swing arm that I had suggested, a newer version of the one I had, a little bit stronger, and decided that he didn't want to go with that anymore. He was going to do something different. So just between me sending him STL files and some stuff to help with the bike and information, he was like, hey man, I'm going to get a new swing arm. If you would like the one that I'm not going to use, it's brand new. It's the one that you obviously like. So boom, we got that here. Robert was cool enough to send that. So this will give us about a 6-inch extension, and it might look similar to my old one, but this is actually different. This is a 3-tube design. So if you can see, there's obviously 3 tubes here. The other one was 2 larger tubes. The fit and finish in this one is much better. It has way more secure points. The thickness on where it actually had cracked is thicker now, so you can tell that they probably had some issues, made some design changes. He went with like a flat black. It almost looks Cerakoted black. So we're going to be installing this. I could install it now. I'm not just being lazy. Sometimes that is the reason. That is not the case here. The reason we're not installing this arm, let me set this back down here. I wish I could set it where you guys could kind of see it in the background. Is because this is the second announcement for this bike. Is this motor, the same gentleman that sent the swing arm actually is going to buy this motor. This is V4 260 12,000 watt hub. It's done me amazing. I've never had a problem with it. I've put all sorts of power to it. I've never overheated it. I think if you guys watched my previous videos, I don't even think I got it to 90C. I think it was less than that. So I've never even really cooked this thing. I've gotten it warm a few times, but never to where it's hot. I'm very kind of careful. I like to flog my stuff, but I'm also very data orientated. So I'm watching data, and as soon as I see something get hot or an issue, I let off. So nothing wrong with this motor. This is a standard winding hub, which means its RPM is X for 72 volts. I mean, with field weakening, it can hit X. So that was fine and dandy. I was going to up the RPMs, right? I wanted to go past 100 miles an hour. It was topping out at 101 right now. And I was like, you know, basically what's happening, without getting too in depth, is when you have field weakening, the bike is going to continue to accelerate past the motor's rated RPM, but it's going to lose some acceleration past that RPM. Sorry, there's a party next door. And it's going to lose some of that acceleration. So basically, in this case, about 70 miles an hour is when it has it's basically its window of RPM where it's going to have a good acceleration. As it starts approaching that 70, the power band is going to start to fall down some. Essentially, by changing the RPM, we can keep that motor loaded and now actually go all the way to 90 miles an hour before we're starting to see that come down. So this will be able to put us, and I'm calling it now, YouTube, you can hold me to it, I'm hoping in the 100 mile an hour range in the 8th mile. My goal kind of keeps changing. The main one has always been the 0 to 60 time. I wanted it to be sub 3 seconds. Before I even ordered this bike, that was the project. That was what I told my fiance. It's what I told my friends. It's what I told my father. Anybody that knew about e-bikes, I was like, dude, I'm going to buy this bike and I'm going to make it go fast, this fast. And they thought I was crazy. I'm close. So I'm not that crazy, right? We have the swing arm. It might be able to do it with just the swing arm. Actually, I'm pretty confident with just adding this it would. But getting back into it, we ordered a new motor. So not only did we increase the RPM, I actually went with a newer motor design. So they've just released a V5 12-inch hub, 260, but this bad boy is now 20,000 watt rated. Remember, I'm running 50,000 watt, but that's not what this motor is rated for. So this is a 70H magnet height. The new motor is an 80, so it's got bigger magnets, it's rated for more power, and they've actually changed the stator up. So now its normal RPM is 1300. So going with a 1500 RPM motor is almost standard. We should have insane torque. We're going to have about a 1600 RPM winding right in that range. That's going to get us a higher mile an hour, both with and without field weakening. So that's going to greatly help our 0 to 60, our quarter mile, our 8th mile, and even our 60 foot. So that's what we have going on with this bike. That's going to be a huge update. The reason I'm not adding the swing arm to kind of circle all back between the two of them, this particular motor uses a monster size axle. It's 21 millimeters. So if you have a set of calipers, you can measure it, or whatever you have, it's 21 millimeters. This thing is a Goliath. The new motor, they determined they didn't really need an axle this large, so they went back to an 18 millimeter axle. So on this, you had to modify the swing arm for this motor. This swing arm is set up for an 18 millimeter axle. I don't want to open this axle up, cut it, modify it, put this motor on there, take the full day's worth of time. The new motor comes in less than 30 days. Now all of a sudden I'm taking it back apart, and then I wasted, and I'm going to have to weld this back up and then put, that's just stupid. So the bike is fine. It's completely rideable. It's obviously extremely fast. I'm just going to keep enjoying it like it is. When the new motor comes on, I'll pop the new swing arm on. I'll pop the new motor on, which is going to be, again, the V5 260, qs260. I'm the first one with it. I literally pre-ordered this motor. I've been bothering QS daily. They probably are annoyed with me, but we managed to pull it off. So that's what we have. Swing arm, new V5 Q60, tune it, hopefully get it all the way out to the 60,000 watt range, and finally get that goal, guys. With anything in life, you need to set a goal. That way you can set something to work towards. I set a very difficult goal right off the rip, and I'm almost there, and it feels pretty good. So I'm just going to keep continuing on. I told you guys no matter what I had to do, I was going to get that time. I could have burned this motor up and kept pushing and trying and doing this and that, or installed the swing arm. But realistically, this motor is going to go to Rob. It's perfect. He's going to put it on either his or a friend's bike. So it's going to continue its life on for many, many miles in good health and good faith. We know it's a good trusted motor. And I'll wait 1 month and be able to actually put this on there with the proper motor that I want to be able to run this power. And that way, when it comes down to that, First rip, boom, less than 3 seconds, 0 to 60. So that's the goal, right? So that's the update with this bike. What I'll do to conclude this chapter, I'm sure you guys you're probably already sick of seeing it, but we'll give you a quick little walk around here with the bike. This is what she looks like right now. Remember, we had it painted. It looks good. I probably should have checked, but I have some new E-Grom stickers for it. But just a plain Jane bike. We have the CT22 display. Give it a second here. Let the BMS wake back up. So as you can see on the new display, we got 106 miles on it. I haven't been riding it too much. It's been a little bit kind of cold and rainy. We got all these hurricanes. But yeah, that's this bike. So we'll have the swing arm back on it again. She'll be looking pretty sick. And I might have some other upgrades, like maybe brakes and forks. Not 100% yet. But let's get back over to the other bike, which is the Super 73. All right, now we're on to the Super 73, like I was saying. We just finished up kind of going over the E-Grom build. So now we're back onto the Super 73. And again, some of you guys might be here for that bike. You might be here for this bike. If you were here for that bike, it'd be cool to listen to this one. Vice versa. They're both really freaking sick bikes, in my opinion. And this has some of the parts that used to be on that one. So right off the rip, some of you guys that are looking might be what's modded, what's not. Let's go over that. What we have here, baby battery. This is a 20S2P. This is actually the second battery pack that I ever made. I modified it to fit into this case. So this is a bigger case that has a small battery in it. When I got this bike, I wanted to go 72 volts really quickly. I had a battery pack laying around. I modified it to fit inside this case, and that's what we got here. We are working on a new set of cases for it, which I'll insert that in here. I guess would be a good time to show you guys that. So voila.
Saying we got the battery build here. This is one of the 2 packs, so this is one of the 36 volt packs. And if we cruise on over to here, we see the second 36 volt pack, and this is utilizing the new copper plate. We designed this and are using a 0.5 millimeter with 0.2 millimeter nickel with 0.5 millimeter copper plate. So what you're seeing, let's see if we can kind of get up here. Hopefully you can kind of see in this angle. So it's a full sheet of nickel, a full sheet of copper, full sheet of 0.2 millimeter, full sheet of 0.5 millimeter. This helps keep the resistance down. This helps keep the heat down and the amperage up and keeps the cell differential voltage down. So this just helps keeps the pack cool, helps disperse energy, and helps deliver the 300 amps that we're going to be utilizing from these 2 packs. So this is what it looks like. Pretty clean. So I just wanted this to be in the update video so you guys can kind of see what it looks like, where we're at with the battery. Next up is, you can see I already have them down with magnets. Next up, I'm going to solder leads to the positive and negative side here. Once I solder up the wire, get that ran, then I'm going to go ahead and actually solder all these on, or excuse me, spot weld them on. We're going to use the K-weld, and we'll be spot welding all of the nickel here. Well, I'll probably be putting 2 or 3 taps per cell, and then we'll get that done, flip them over, get the other side done, and yeah, we'll be good to go. So I'm pretty excited for this. These packs should perform pretty well. I'm really excited to see what type of voltage drop we get from these new copper layouts, so we'll stay tuned.
All right, so now you guys can see the new battery. So one of those packs will go here inside this case, the other will go in here. Keep that stock look. That's a 36 volt pack, a 36 volt pack. Between the 2 of them, it makes up 72 volts. That'll be 20S 7P, capable of delivering up to 315 amps. And with that thick old copper we got on there, pretty confident it's going to do it. Next up, we have the custom seat. If you guys go back in some of the earlier videos, you'll see how I designed this. This is a 3D printed seat base. Basically comes up, streamlined right here, kind of comes up 90 degrees, comes back, and then it has a secret hiding spot. Secret. In that area, it actually has a controller mounted in it. Kind of comes up towards the very back, and then it's open towards where the grab handle is. So again, we have a flat seat base, comes up 90s, it's got a complete enclosure, it's basically boxed out, and that allows a controller to sit underneath it. I then took that seat base, sent it out to Lorenzo Seats. He took the seat, upholstered it, put foam on it, put the BITI Build It Tune It logo on the back, and then wrapped it all up, sent it back to us, and this is what we have. So underneath this seat, which is a special seat, is a ASI Bach 8000, guys. Not a 4000, not a 2000, not a 800, an 8000. That means this bad boy is capable of delivering up to 32,000 watts, 40 horsepower. 40. I know it makes 40 because I had it on that bike, on the dyno, with this controller, which dictates the power, obviously some of the motor as well, but I'm talking about power output of the controller, and it made 41 horsepower. So we have a 41 horsepower controller. It's capable of making 850 phase amps, which is insane for this bike. So this would be the equivalent of a 450 dirt bike on a frickin' Super 73. Insane. So Bach 8000, it's hidden underneath here. You're probably thinking, oh, it's going to get so hot, blah, blah, blah. Not a problem. We already thought about that. The controller is actually mounted directly to the chassis of the bike, the frame of the bike. And if you've ever worked in this particular frame, it has a flat seat pan on it. So along from the front, from about here all the way to about here, it's actually a flat sheet of aluminum, and that's where the factory seat bolts. I mounted the controller with the aluminum heatsink down, touching that. I used some expensive thermal compound that I had from my computer build, coated it all on there very nicely, brushed it for a nice even finish, mounted the controller down, screwed the controller down to the frame, bolted it down, excuse me, so that I actually seen some of it oozing out, so I knew I had a good contact area, or contact patch. So again, we have the controller thermal compounded, we have the seat that slides over that, the seat bolts down the front, then has Velcro and keep it into place the rest of the way. As you guys can see, it's very secure. The wiring, this seat actually has an area in the back that allows it to go straight down the grab handle. So all the power phase wires all go down this part of the seat and then between the fender and this grab handle and then route up into here. All the wiring will be contained in here where the factory controller was. These 12 volt step down will be in here. So essentially it'll just continue to look like a factory bike. The only way it's going to look a little bit different than now is that it will have the second battery case here, but that'll be it. Currently using a Bluetooth app from Kilowatt, which is in the beta stage, which I'll be making an entire separate video on once I get some more time. But that's what I'm using for the display right now. I need to finish up the custom display that I was making, but for right now we got the Bluetooth one. So yeah, that's what we got for that. And the back of the bike, I went ahead and kept the factory wheel on, factory tire, excuse me. Probably going to change it out. This isn't rated for the speed, but I have to admit, guys, it looks freaking sick. Let me kind of move this. Hopefully you guys can still see it. It just looks awesome. I think it looks really like a factory bike. The tires kind of give it more of like a dirt bike look, but obviously you can tell it's a pedal bike. It just looks rad. Kind of looks like an old rough mini bike if you ask me. If you guys are from that era, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I grew up riding them, and that's exactly what this reminds me of. It's why I love them. So in the back here, I guess we can spin this so you can see. We have the qs260v, which if you guys remember, we got this in. I laced this. This is a 20 by 4 inch wheel. These are 12 gauge spokes that I laced myself. We use the Grin spoke calculator, so you can go back, see us using that. You can see us lacing the wheel on one of the YouTube shorts. But this is a qs260v that I custom ordered. I spec'd this out myself. I sent QS a drawing of the axle, told them what I wanted. They went ahead and made this axle for me, and yeah, we had to use a chain spacer, brake spacer, a rotor spacer, excuse me, and we got an extra long axle. And some of you guys might be thinking, well, Mike, well, if you drew up the axle and you sent it to them, why does it have so much sticking out? Got a pretty good answer for you. So let me grab right here the proper side. So first I want to show you that I'm not just talking poop, that I do have it made. Just keep grabbing the wrong one here. But yeah, I do have this part made. They're sitting up there. I already have had them laser cut. I have them here. Next thing on my list is to TIG weld them up. But what it does, and we'll see if we can get this in frame. Let me walk to the back side of the camera. So if you can, oh, actually this is not the correct one. Give me a second. Sorry about that. Got a couple of revisions here. So imagine these here. Come on, focus. Well, it might be a little bit out of focus. These are dowel pins. These are 2 dowel pins that are here. These are where the factory bolts go, and then that's the axle keyway. So now that you've seen it up close, I'm going to go ahead and show you here just how that works. I'm going to go ahead now and move this camera and get you guys a little bit closer. So hopefully I'm not in the way too much. Alright, it's okay if you guys can't see this. I'll do the best job I can to explain it. So first off, what you see, and what you might have seen here, is that it's 2 plates. So it's 1/4 inch thick, 1/4 inch thick. It makes up a 1/2 inch of actual bracing we have for the axle. And that's what you're seeing here. This is just a full put together, basically when it's welded, what it'll look like. So we have the 1/4 inch. That makes up for this gap, the distance of the factory aluminum dropout mount. So this nut will come off the factory or the QS motor axle. This will then slide on like so. That 1/4 inch plate will take up the gap that this nut needs so that it'll allow this plate to sit flush. Once this plate goes on there, if you guys can see, or if you have one of these bikes, you'll know, this is slotted. It is like that so you can set the chain, the brake, blah, blah, blah. Well, Super 73 designed it where all that stuff lines up best with it all the way back. That's, if you look at almost every single RX, that's how they come. Reason that's important for us, this is an 8mm slotted hole. It allows me to insert 2 dowel pins in front of these while retaining them and use that as a anti-rotation device on top of having the bolts. So again, this bolt will be removed. It's a little tight. This slides in place. The 2 dowel pins slide into there. The two factory bolts now go into there. The axle tightens on the outside, and now we have a 1/2 inch steel dropout added to the factory dropout to keep the axle from rotating, keep it to being able to be jumped, keep it from being able to do burnouts, launches, and all the other stupid stuff that you guys know that I love to do. This will be 1 on each side. So I have 2 of these. Again, they'll be welded up. I don't want to actually touch the frame and scratch it, but they'll be welded up, they'll be mounted on there, and this will keep it again from rotating. And just some added strength. You know, I try to do all these stupid things, but do it to a point where it's at least reliable and I'm not going to injure myself. So that is that part of the update on the bike. Scoot back here again. Alright, hopefully that's in frame. So I went over the dropout spacer and the torque arm that I built. So we got that going on. That's going to secure the qs260v on there. We're going to mount up the 2 batteries. We got the Bach 8000. I added a 2-inch higher set of handlebars, maybe 2.5. I haven't done all the math. It's a significant increase in height, to be honest with you. And I got the factory set here. So you can actually see about 1.5 to 2 inches. But it's just enough, honest to God. I'm 5'10", and you see all these guys putting these low handlebars on there so it looks cool in photos, or they look cool when they're riding. I'm 35. My back cannot take that. So if you guys can see now, you guys don't really get to see a lot of me just sitting on these bikes. But I'm going to sit on it now, and I want you to see my posture. So I've increased the height of the handlebars, and as you can see, I'm still at a downward angle. You know, those guys that have the handlebars down here so they can ride like this, look at my back. Does that look fun to you? No, it does not. It's actually physically hurting my back to be doing that. So you guys that are 20, fine. You guys that are like me, 35, and slowly get out of bed, don't do that to yourself. Go ahead and get yourself the right set of handlebars so that you have basically a, you know, somewhat vertical posture in your back. I could probably change this up a little bit, but when I ride, most of the time, let's just hold here. You know, most of the time I'm riding like this, which I'm pretty straight up now. It's way more comfortable. The factory ones, I was down just a little bit more. I was kind of down here, and it left me like hunched over just enough that it would hurt my back after a long ride. With these bars, it's perfect. I just picked these up on eBay. I can drop the dimensions so you guys can find a similar set if you guys want something that's like that. But yeah, handlebars were on there. Small upgrade. I think they were $60 shipped. Nothing crazy. But overall, that's the bike. That's what it's surely going to look like. Just with the extra battery on there, it shouldn't look much very different. I started dyeing the logo here in the back. Some of you guys might have already noticed that are a little bit more picky. I had the stitching done in white. Reason was I wanted to see what it would look like in white, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it in blue. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it in black. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it at all. So I figured get the stitching in white. If I wanted to dye it blue, I could. If I wanted to dye it black, I could. It's just a synthetic thread. They sell synthetic dye. So I just kind of blacked out a little bit to see what I liked. And I'm just going to probably dye it like a flat black, a dark black. It'll look like a two-tone color. I like that the logo's still there, just not as bright. The white was just a little bit too much for me. Maybe if it was a fancier font, but just being in like that type of font right there, to me, it just didn't look right. Being so bright. So, yep, we're going to put the synthetic dye on there, clean it up. I have some wire loom or sheathing that's black to go over the orange motor cable. We have the dropout mounts for the back of that. We're going to do like a wrinkle black texture on those, powder coat them. And then just kind of get the bike cleaned up. We'll get the second battery on there and then turn it up to 22,000 watts or so, which will be plenty fast for the bike. Now, all of you guys know that I'm real big into speed and competitions and the draggy. So, yeah, I am going to race this bike a little bit. And, yeah, I probably will go for the speed record to see what this bike can do. Mathematically, I already know what it can do. I don't know if the tires will shake before then. Obviously, not these ones. I have some Shinkos for it, which are inside. I don't know if the tires will shake, how they'll be balanced. I don't know how it's going to feel. There's so many factors, right? But what I do know is I got 20S7P on board, and then behind the camera that I already have made from another bike, as I have another 20S7P, Molicels copper. What does that mean? I have 14P. What does that mean? I have the full power to give this bike 32,000 watts, 41 horsepower. What do I know about that? I know with 450 battery amps on that bike, which is 3 times the weight, 4 times the weight, at that power level, the bike went 100 miles an hour. It went 1301 in the quarter mile at 96 miles an hour. Same power. This is a higher turn RPM motor, so this actually is meant to be able to go higher RPMs. So there's no reason in the world this shouldn't hit triple digits mathematically. There's a lot of other factors that might come into play before then, but mathematically, that's what it will do. So I have the other pack to do that type of stuff. That's why I'm really stressing again, having these dropouts on there. So theoretically, the factory dropout could break, could literally crack the aluminum, and then boom, this will completely support it on its own, full strength. I could probably delete the factory dropout, excuse me, and use these only. I'm not going to do that. It would require some design changes, but that's how confident I am that this will hold that much. So a lot of guys are just running the factory one, and they're okay at crazy power. We're adding the steel 1/2 inch. I'm not even going to worry about it anymore. It's kind of a lost cause, right? We've strengthened it up well past the point of having to worry about it. So that's 2 updates between the 2 bikes. I'm sorry, but I haven't been making a ton of videos, but really, as you can see, I've been busy putting this bike together. I've been busy riding that one, and I'm busy, making the money to be able to continue to do these bikes, to develop these parts, to be able to test them so that someday I can sell them to you guys. So that's the whole point of this. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to build. You guys already know that I'm working on controller packages, battery packages. I love this industry, and that's what I'm working towards. So again, I would like to say thank you to Robert for the swing arm. He sent this on his own dime. He didn't ask me to post about a video. He didn't ask me to thank him. He didn't ask for shipping. I tried to offer him shipping. He was just no problems. He wanted to do that as an appreciation, which I help a lot of people out. And a lot of people, once they get help, they're gone. They disappear. So I greatly appreciate stuff like this. I go out of my way to help a lot of people. So it's nice to see when somebody goes out of their way to return the favor. So again, thank you. We'll be setting some records with this. Super stoked on that. You are the man. For the rest of you guys, I appreciate you watching. I'll have a bunch of other stuff coming up here soon. I have that new app to review for the ASI controllers. We'll have all the build stuff going on with that. I'll have some of the build shorts when I build the batteries for these 2 packs going up. And then certainly I'd like to do a ride-along video on this, displaying that new app. Even at only 7,000 to 8,000 watts, it's still a blast, still wheelies. So that'll probably be a cool video. And then obviously once I get the dual batteries on there and start running 22,000 watts, you guys can bet your booties that I'll be shooting some videos then. So hopefully some group rides and, you know, just the e-bike stuff in general. But I haven't done a video in a while. I know I'm rambling on, but that's kind of the point of this video, right? I always keep it short, simple, like straight to the point. Let's do this how-to video, or let's do the... I wanted to sit in front of the camera a little bit and just give you guys an update as to what I'm working on. Maybe you guys have ideas, input, questions, or just want to know the process. So I figured I would make a video including that this time. I appreciate you guys watching. I really do. The channel is slowly growing. More people are seeing that I got some crazy stuff going on, or at least crazy to me, whether it's a mower or a Grom or Super 73 with 10 times the power it came with from the factory. I try to keep it interesting, try to help you guys out. I try to reply to all the emails and questions and help you guys out. So I appreciate the subs. I appreciate the follows. I appreciate those that, you know, religiously watch. Obviously, it's a slow process building a YouTube, especially on something that a lot of people aren't dedicated to or don't believe in or don't really know about. So, you know, I'm going upriver here. I'm swimming against the grain. A lot of people think, you know, e-bikes are for environmentalists only. They have no idea that they can offer a unique new experience to everybody, whether it's more exercise, more exploration, more family time, more laughs, more smiling. These have changed my life. Truthfully, they really have. I now have way more fun. I'm more fit. I have more exercise. A whole new passion has been sparked because of the capabilities of what these bikes can do and the reliability of them. So I really appreciate the opportunity that you guys are watching me live my best life through these bikes, modify them, and learn so that one day in the future we'll be able to do cooler things with bikes, because, you know, there are people out there pushing them to their limits now so that we know what works in the future. So again, I really, from the bottom of my heart, I do appreciate you guys watching. It means the world to me when I get a video and it's got a ton of views, because I put a lot of effort into these. And, you know, it's cool to see other people actually have interest in it and, you know, appreciate the work that I am putting into them. So again, thank you guys very much. I'm going to end this video here. Sorry, nothing crazy, but at least a cool update on these two bikes. So